Hello everyone, it's me Varus, and in this video, we're going to be giving you another update on some current weather and what's expected in the next 3 or 4 days, and then a long-range look and when is spring about to come and when will colder air and winter move out. So, going to be a shorter video though, as I'm going to try to squeeze it all in pretty relatively quickly, but I will have timestamps below, so if you want to skip to some specific parts, there you go. So yeah, let's start out with what we usually always start out with. Is the National Weather Service's alerts and indices. Now, I did make a video yesterday, and that winter storm that we had is starting to move out. It is now starting to come off the shore. However, it still is impacting areas of northern North Carolina, northeastern North Carolina, southeastern Pennsylvania, extreme southern portions of Maryland, areas of eastern Kentucky, southwestern West Virginia, and then lots of winter weather advisories outside of that. Behind that, the cold air has just been rushing in. These darker blues are where cold air is very, very prevalent, and the lighter blues are more cold advisories, so not as crazy. Now, something that's pretty interesting is you see this like darker violet type color. Those are freeze warnings, and that means that this part of Texas actually hasn't really gotten too close to or below freezing. However, with this big cold push, it's actually getting well below freezing, and they'll have a freeze. So lots of vegetation and farmers definitely have to watch out for their crops, as this is gonna really freeze everything, which is pretty surprising and interesting for me. In the northwest, we have had a little slug of moisture coming on from upper level lows, so low pressures in the upper levels of the atmosphere, and that has been causing precipitation relatively light, nothing too crazy, except for the winter storm warnings, which is likely enhanced because this is most likely a mountainous region. So definitely pretty active, and definitely looks like winter out there. Now, if we get to surface analysis, so what's going on right now, let's take a look. So let's start off with the Pacific Northwest, and there you have it. You have your still stationary boundary over here, and then you have a low pressure here, a low pressure all the way up in the Pacific Northwest. This low right here is very weak and likely not really causing anything. However, this is kind of a double barrel low. You got two low pressures fighting out right here, and that is definitely likely slugging on some precipitation. You can see that indicated by these like pink little indications: snow, sleet, rain, ice, everything. But yeah, that's the Pacific Northwest. Central U.S. very cool, very quiet is what I meant to say. And actually, yeah, Central U.S. is very cold. Negatives right now for high temperatures. I mean, you have negative 20 degrees as a high temperature over here in Montana. So very cold. And even all the way down to the Texas coastline, you have freezing temperatures here. I'm going to try to draw out where freezing is. You got freezing temperatures extending something like this right now. Okay, that is very cold. And by nighttime, this should be able to clear almost down to Brownsville, and that means that these areas that have the freeze warnings are going to get very cold. Now, we head towards a more active precipitation and stormy, unsettled conditions. Here's your low pressure in between the mountains of North Carolina and Tennessee, the Appalachian chain, and this is going on and just causing lots of precipitation. You have this high pressure, but this is going to escape out. This is what's keeping these areas dry. This is helping to suppress the storm south and only affect areas closer to this area I'll draw in pink. Okay, so that's kind of one of the factors. There's a lot of other factors too, as there's like an upper level trough that's positively tilted. That was a very terrible drawing. And therefore the storm doesn't have enough time to get up the coast. Now, I did talk about that in my last video, so go check it out. What this is also doing, as this low crosses the Appalachian Mountains, this will shred some of the storm. The northern precipitation shield you see will weaken a little just because it's crossing Appalachians. Once it gets off, we should see some redevelopment in these areas especially. But that, since it is having some Appalachian Mountain interaction, that's also cutting off and causing lighter precipitations closer to DC and south. Besides that, that's surface analysis, and then rain to the south, South Carolina, upstate South Carolina, likely getting some ice, especially later on this evening, so watch out for that. And then Florida, I mean, it is just warm, whoopsie. Spring is definitely coming. You got 80s everywhere. Now you do have that cold front coming through, and so temperatures will definitely cool. Let's see if it makes it all the way down to the coast here. It might, but I have a feeling it might hang off somewhere by Miami or so, or north of Miami. So yeah, let's talk about future projections in the next 84 hours. So that would be approximately almost the next 4 days. So let's take a look. Just under 4 days. So 3.5 days. So here's our system right now. And as you can see, we got some southern streams. So there's your low, your northern piece low, right there. There's your southern piece in the Gulf Coast. This is going to come together, merge off, and that's what's really going to enhance precipitation in these areas. So we continue this, and as we go, you see there it starts developing. This low kind of fizzles out and transfers over here. You can see it starting to develop. That was a terrible drawing again. Uh, and that low that we saw here kind of also combines and shifts here as this begins to head out. But you got some very, very heavy precipitation breaking out here. Very good frontogenesis, which is lots of energy. You can see that kind of this low takes place and it kind of stays close. And I feel like ice is going to be a big concern in portions of eastern North Carolina, southeastern North Carolina. The immediate coast will be rain. Okay, you have warm air, and that warm air is really going to have rain. And then South Carolina coast as well. Ice in the upstate once again. Uh, and so that passes out. Now, you can see we're going to have a dry slot, I think. We're going to have a dry slot somewhere in these areas, according to the NAM. Okay, somewhere, you could say this area too, but I'd really say anywhere in these areas. Here, extend it a little. Somewhere in there, you're going to have a dry slot for sure. Okay, it's just a classic North Carolina system that does that. By that time, it gets out of here and grazes places of the Delmarva. Now, after that, we have our upper level low swinging by. Okay, that's our ULL. This comes in tomorrow morning, and this is what could bring some light, but maybe some impactful snows towards areas of DC, Baltimore, and even getting closer to Philadelphia, NYC, and maybe even Boston. And you can see that right here. Hat tries to interact here. If it does, that'll be interesting. But you can see this is about afternoon time. So 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So this has it coming in the afternoon and evening. And then by that time, it's out of here. Now, something I have seen something interesting. With this cold air, looks like we could have some spotty freezing drizzle and ice in central portions of Texas sometime Friday night. This is a little far out, and not all models show it, but it's something to watch if you do live over here, as some treacherous travel is certainly possible. Now, by that time, it's all out of here. Now, something I will highlight over here. Let's go to frontogenesis. Whoops, 850 millibar frontogenesis. Here we are, and there is actually a new run out, but it doesn't go too far. Let's take a look at it, okay? Boom. There you have your frontogenesis starting to develop. That is some impressive energy off the coast of North Carolina and extreme southeastern Virginia. This could really enhance snowfall, and so I'm really watching that for that one. And then tomorrow evening, you see some frontogenesis with the upper level trough and cold air advection. That could also cause some enhancement of precipitation. I feel like that could be under modeled as well. We'll see though. It tries to get towards New York City and kind of lingers around there. So by that time, it starts to head out, and you see those like spotty energies. This is Thursday, and you see some spotty energy trying to develop, and that is associated with the upper level trough trying to get some emergence or some interaction with this low pressure system that heads out to sea. After that long range look, let's see. So we're gonna go with patterns right now. This is the past 72 hours. It was pretty warm. We had some 50s, and then if we go all the way to present time, here you have it. There's your warm air, and oh, this is a very old model run. Oh, that was very, very old. So this is 72 hours past. This is now. Okay, sorry, that was a very old model run. So with this one, here you have it. You have cold air starting to get dislodged with this upper level low. This is what's going to swing by and bring some lighter snows for areas of the mid-Atlantic tomorrow and portions in the Northeast. So this swings by, and you can see it really starting to deepen. It's going to be a strong upper level. It's going to be strong upper level low, and this could really enhance and bring some light snows anywhere in between here. Typically, when you see your isobars right there, there's where your best chance of snows are. So this comes through tomorrow afternoon, morning-ish, evening, kind of the entire day. Okay, morning it's in the Midwest. Afternoon it's kind of just west of the Mid-Atlantic, and then by evening it starts to head out and goes towards southern New England. After that, we get another low cold blast and then a positive PNH for the west. Now, this only goes 144 hours out. Okay, so we'll go in the longer range look. But warmer, it continues to stay around seasonable out to the east. Now, after that, this goes really far out. This is March 5th. I do see signals of colder air for the west and warmer air for the east. And this could really cause some thermal clashes and some severe weather, especially in these areas. You could really see some severe weather due to warm and cold. Once we get into March, the cold air will be much more transient, which means fleeting and not as impressive as what we're seeing right now. That doesn't mean you can't get a storm for areas of the Northeast or Mid-Atlantic, etc. But mostly it would be interior favored later in the month. Earlier in the month, I could see the I-95 getting involved. But I don't know if we have a pattern quite yet that supports it. But yeah, in the Pacific Northwest, will eventually warm up and turn a little bit drier. And maybe even a little more active further south. Now, temperature-wise, kind of talked about temperatures in the other pattern, but we'll just go here. There's your warmth. Okay, this is another old run. Sorry about that. Let's go back to present time. So yeah, there you have it. Very impressive cold, and it's really driving through. Eventually, it should moderate by the 25th. So this is next week. So it's gonna stay cold through the rest of this week and the weekend, and then we start to moderate out. And some warmth, some cold. You can see how this cold comes in, and then it's out. Moderation, and another one comes in, and then it's out. Then the west turns cold, and again the same reflection. On the the same reflection is shown on the temperature map with the upper level air pattern map. So you got warm air in the east, cold air in the west. So pattern flip looks to be likely sometime in early March. Now, something interesting to talk about is spring. Where is spring at? So talking about all that warmth, here's your cold air dump right now. Okay, here I can try to zoom in, but sometimes it goes really too zoomed in. Like that. Yeah, that is very zoomed in. So we'll just stay out like this, okay? So right here you have your cold air dumpage, okay, right from the Arctic coming straight down, and you have lots of cold air helping to get this with the storm you have snow, okay, happening. Now, you see it's a little hard to see, but you see this like these darker colors right here. This is indicative of a season change. Okay? This is gonna continue heading north, okay? And this is kind of the transition to spring. Okay, this is kind of the transition to spring, and so this is going to continue heading in the north in the next several weeks, getting into March, April, and eventually May. And just an interesting look to see as spring eventually comes. And I mean, you can already see southern Florida getting very warm, 80s, even though we have cold air over here. But yeah, that's all I'm gonna say. So, for that, that's all she wrote for today's video. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Have a great rest of your day.